And hello, everybody. I should say good morning. This is Cat Ward, Cat in the Shadows, Spirit Paranormal. And I doubt there's anyone on my page. It's 5 a.m. in the morning over here, folks. As you can see, I'm still half asleep. And yes, I'm maybe going to need to use the bathroom shortly because I've had a bit of coffee to stay awake. Yes, we've had a couple of tech issues over at Ash's End. I'm just waiting for him to get those sorted, and then we'll get our chat started. Ash has a lot to tell you guys about. He was the man who was originally responsible for introducing me to parapsychology. Sorry, folks, I'm really tired. Yes, in a way, he was my second mentor. Gary was my first, of course, and he was on the other week. And did you enjoy Lloyd's chat the other week? If anybody's there, he was fantastic, wasn't he? I must admit, I still replay that sometimes. It was a great talk that he did. He's a great guy, and yeah, I'm really honored to call him a friend of mine. I love to pick people's brains. It's what I've always been about. It's not the reason I have all these guys as guests just because I wanted to, pick their brains live on air or anything like that. I became friends. We just built a bond up with one another over the years, and some of us have been friends for a long time now, and I'm very grateful and very honored. And they've helped me with the difficult parapsychology stuff too, which has been great. And I'm well and truly, as you would know, I'm well and truly immersed in that now. I've just just written a 17-minute blog piece on the ghosts of time, which I doubt anyone will read unless you're into reading a chapter in blog form. Yeah, then go right ahead. It's quite a large one. It covers way back. And yes, I'll tell you some other news lately. I've just taken my blog multilingual as well, folks. It's now in, oh God, I can't remember. Is it Italian, French, German, Dutch, Norwegian, Swedish, Japanese, Hindi, and Vietnamese, I think. I think that's it. I can't believe I actually remembered all of those. Yes, so I'm really appalling at tech stuff. I really always have been. I suppose in a way it actually kind of makes me a better investigator because Photoshop makes my head hurt, folks. Tech stuff makes my head hurt mostly. That's why I have tech people, because I can't do it. Yes. Now I'll just check if Ash is sorted yet. And if anyone's got any questions, you're welcome to pop them up on the screen. I can't see anybody on there live as yet. Nobody as yet. But yes, if there's any questions, okay. Okay, now, what's the time now? 5:06. We've been going on for about 6 minutes then. Okay. So I'll just send a ready text to Ash. And you guys will get to hear my friend. We will talk about hysteria, telepathic interaction. Sorry, I really need more coffee. Yes, it hurt my brain the first time I read it. I've got it well and truly now, but yeah, it was really interesting. And I'm really grateful to Ash for, mentoring me into all of this sort of thing. Yeah, it's been a big ride. Now, I'll just check and see. He hasn't seen his message yet. That's okay. I'll send a message. I'll send a link just to see if he's ready. And if he's still getting himself organized, then it's okay. We can wait a couple of minutes. I don't think the cat's not awake yet, so I don't have to feed her. And I will refill my coffee soon. And I've just sent the link to Ash, so hopefully he'll pop up on my screen here shortly, folks. And in the meantime, what's the weather like over here? Yeah, over there, sorry. Yeah, you know how it is over here. It's dark, of course. That's not weather, but yes, it's cold. It's been really cold these past couple of days. It's rained the past few days. But my sister is coming up to visit in the next couple of days, and she's coming to stay for a few nights with my little nephew, who I've never met. And a few of my team, Jono and his partner Beck, are coming as well with their little daughter Abby. And so we will have a big paranormal family reunion, and a bigger one early next year when Alex and I head over to Tasmania to visit my friends in the field over there. One of them, Charmaine Mansfield, is the tour owner of Tasmania's Most Haunted. They run the tours at Willow Court, oldest asylum in Australia. It's fantastic, folks. They've sadly lost the ladies' cottage, unfortunately, but Willow Court is amazing. Just don't go there in winter. I made that mistake one time. It was -2 one night when I was there, and myself and the boys from Tasmania's Paranormal Experiences were there at Willow Court at I think 1 in the morning, and it was freezing cold, and I think it was starting to snow as well. And we were wrapped up in, there was no heating or no lights, only my laptop and a little a portable lamp or something that we plugged into somewhere. And yes, only my heating, only my laptop and that. And we were wrapped up in flowered doona covers, and one of the boys was doing ET impressions, and of course we were hysterical because we were exhausted, and it struck my funny. We had a great time though. They're nice guys, and Tassie is beautiful. And to all you guys overseas, I highly recommend it. You would love Port Arthur. It's one of our historic convict sites. They had a model prison. They had, oh God, it was cruel. It was brutal, Port Arthur. You would love it, but don't go in winter, folks. And you'd like it over here too. I think we have some lovely places. I've been to quite a few with my team over here. Just trying to think. I'm killing time while I'm waiting for Ash to get stuff sorted at his end. See if he's got everything done yet. I'm not sure. I'm not sure as yet. No, he's not on there yet. Now, I'll kill some time still. So places that my team has been, I guess. I'll go through those. Good Lord. Now, the very first one we ever went to was a place in Chewton, sorry, outside of Castlemaine. It was a really old place called the Red Hill Hotel. And it had an underground cellar that doubled as body storage because it was very cold, of course, and they had to keep the bodies below ground so they wouldn't smell. And yes, because it was a hotel, of course. Yeah, that would put people off their food. I'm rambling. I'm tired. Sorry, folks. That was a great night. Fascinating. From there, we went on to Castlemaine Jail. Actually, no, the first was Bundanoon in the Southern Highlands in New South Wales, a big old hotel up there, the Bundanoon Hotel. I saw that on My Ghost Story, and that was the very first one that my partner and I ever stayed at, the very first haunted place that we ever checked out. I call those things stakeouts, folks, because it's only one night. That's not enough time for a thorough investigation. Sorry for squinting at the camera, by the way. The light from my camera is blinding me. Yes. From Bundanoon, we then went on to Red Hill, to the Red Hill Hotel in Chewton, then to Castlemaine Jail, and I nearly fainted when I got talking to the owner, who turned out to be a really lovely bloke, and we formed a good friendship, a solid trust that lasted for, God, 6 years or so, and then they had to sell the place. And unfortunately, the new owners that took over were rather thoughtless and selfish, and they closed the place off to the public, which broke my heart. They used to run historic tours. Myself and some of my team used to run paranormal tours there sometimes. They had a cafe, they had exhibits, they had children's history tours as well to tell everyone about the jail. And the new owner, they had a community radio station, they had a knitting circle, a yoga class weekly as well, and they shut it off. It was really utterly selfish. They were a fashion designer and her husband or something, and I don't know why they would have closed it off. I hope the ghosts gave them hell. I really do. Because there was a lot going on there, and I was never afraid. I actually felt right at home. God, now where else have we been to? And where's Ashley? I'll just send him another message, see if he's there yet. Where else have we been to? We've been from there. We've been to Geelong Jail. Ash is not there yet. He might be having difficulties still, folks. We've been to Geelong Jail. I've spent a few nights there. That was awesome. Yes. God, Arradale Asylum. Myself and the team spent a night by ourselves with no tour groups. I don't like tours, folks. I'm not a fan. They're noisy. There is too many people to get in the way, and yeah. And if there's younger ones, they joke and giggle, and sometimes that's a bit off-putting. I'm sure you would find it so as well. Arradale is the largest asylum in the Southern Hemisphere, folks. I'll see if I can present my screen, actually. I've got a share screen option. I'll choose a Chrome tab. I'm not sure which one, actually. I just got to find it. Yes, now Arradale has 63 outbuildings. It has its own dairy, its own piggery, its own fruit and vegetable farm, its own vineyard. I'll stop my cam for a second, folks. I'm just trying to find something to just trying to find something. I've got a slideshow up too somewhere that has a lot of the places that we've been to. Beechworth Asylum as well. Jeff Brown, a friend of mine, is the owner there. He's a really nice guy. My team and I, and the people from Tasmania's Most Haunted, when Craig Bloxham was in charge there. Hello, Craig, if you see this. We went to Beechworth for a couple of hours as well. It was a really quick one. It was freezing cold. Beechworth is the second largest in the Southern Hemisphere, I think. It was designed by the same architect as Arradale. His name was J.J. Clark. I think he might have also been responsible for the Clarkfield Hotel, which is another one we've been to. That's a great place too, folks. It's sadly closed now. I think COVID killed it. It killed a lot over here. Yes, Gundagai Jail. Gundagai, my team were the first to spend the night there, except for all the spiders, and it was rather cold too, I think. Yes, it was a fascinating place. I'm trying to find my screen. To see if I can get something to share here with you. I'll find my slideshow if I can, because that will kill a little bit of time. And then let me see where else. Now, hotels. Other hotels. We have investigated here at the Row Hotel. which I'm lucky enough to live at. Ash is online, folks. I'll just go to StreamYard and send him another link. I'll send Ash another link. I think he's got the tech issues sorted, so just send it via Messenger. And it's the first one on my list. He's one of my only friends that starts with A, actually, I think. I only have 5. Nope, whoop. That was my Alex, sorry. That was my partner. Now, I sent it to the wrong one. He's the first one on my list. I'm really sleepy. Sorry, folks. Now, I'll just send a link to Ash. Get him in. And we should see him on screen in a minute, which is great. I should see him on screen in a minute. I think he has my link. I'll just check. I'll see if he's got it. I can't see it on my mobile, on my laptop, of course, because I haven't got Facebook open. We tend to have feedback issues with that sort of thing. Now, I've sent the link. Ash hasn't got it yet. Okay. Now, just give him I'll send it again. Ash, where are you? Now, hotels, I may as well kill more time. Euro Hotel, yes, it is haunted. I am lucky enough to live here too with my partner. We have a little apartment in the staff quarters upstairs in the guest area, which the guest rooms are unused, folks. Ashley's here.
Hey.
Hi, Ash. How are you? I'll turn my cam on just to say hi to everybody. I'm half asleep. Hi, England, America. I don't think there'll be anybody over here in Australia, as it's really early over there, but I'm sure a few will be awake in England, perhaps. Actually, I think they will be, and America too. I'm really bad at time zones, folks. Yes. Now, how was your holiday first? Where did you go again? You went to the States, yes?
Yeah, took the
Sorry, I'm
kids
screaming. The tram light is blinding me.
took the kids to East Coast of America. So we went to New York, Philadelphia, Washington, Boston, and of course Salem. Popped into Salem as
I
well. So yeah,
love to see Philly and Boston, and Massachusetts in general, actually.
yeah, it's great. It's good experience for them because we don't do by the pool holidays. We do bouncing from one place to the next and seeing all different places and things like that. So hopefully they took something from it.
I'm sure they would have. I'd love to go there. Is there anywhere else over there you'd like to visit?
That's a wide question because America's so huge. Yeah, I could go back and probably a few
They're
times.
not as big as us. They're not as big as
No,
us.
true.
Which it really blew my mind, looking at the map comparison. It's, they have such long distances between their towns and their states and stuff. I don't know. It kind of, it weirds me out a little. Yeah, the distance, we're huge over here, but some of our towns seem to be, I don't know, maybe we're all gathered around the coast, I guess. So that's why, there's a lot inland in the States. But yes, I'd love to see there, except maybe the desert. Too hot.
Yeah.
I'm good for nothing in the heat. I'm half Scottish. And I've still got a cold a bit. Sorry, folks. I'm a bit croaky and a bit snotty still. Yes, I've had a nasty bug for weeks. It's Alex's fault. He's the gift that never stops giving. Now, let's talk paranormal and parapsychology. First, how did you get interested in this? You told me about an experience. You saw something in a window once of an old manor house across the field from you.
Yeah, so town I live in now, Stevenage in Hertfordshire. I used to live across a park called Chivalry Park, and on the other side of the park was an old manor house, preferably called Chivalry Manor. back then it was empty. Beforehand, it had been a boys' school, an old Borstal boys' school. About the time when I was about 11, it was empty. Me and some friends were walking across the grounds. Probably shouldn't have been. And
Well, you're
I
kids.
spied.
Kids do that.
There was a hole in the fence. I meant in there. And yeah, so we saw. Well, I saw something in one of the windows. Didn't really mention it too much then. And then I think we was doing the same thing again because I think it must have been a route to a football field or something like that, or a friend's house. And I saw the same thing again, which is basically I think it's like a woman or something in the window. And obviously because it was empty, an old place and all that kind of stuff, immediate thoughts were towards ghosts and things like that. So me being me, decided to
as you do.
to convince my friends to enter through a window in the basement that was open. Don't do that at home, all that kind of stuff. We got from the basement, which was flooded, by the way, and we got across that there's like desks in it, like stepping stones across the water. So we got through that, got to the ground floor, and then they decided that they weren't happy with things and left. So that's as far as that investigation got. But that always kind of stuck with me because it was kind of an interesting one. Look back on it now, and it could have been anything. It could have been
Of course.
It could have been a ghost, but it could have been someone squatting in the house because they found the same way in and it was shelter. So you don't know. So, but it was always an interesting one. But that was got me thinking about things and looking into things, and I suppose that kind of began the beginning of the investigating or the inquisitive mind in that kind of aspect. I've always had brought up in that kind of way, looking into things and questioning things. So my parents kind of installed that in us. Yeah, so that was probably my first excursion into actually going into a place and investigating it. But obviously, after that point, I always sought permission of the owner and didn't just under my own will. A little bit annoying.
Now, did anything happen at any of the places that you lived in as a child or a young man, or to your family? Because that would raise the consideration of genetic or familial telepathy sort of thing. You know, does it run in the blood? Or is it in our genes? You know, is it our hair color, eye color, that sort of thing?
I don't know. I mean, when I was
telepathy, you know, I mean, I guess the two would therefore be related in some way, linked.
When I was very young, and my parents owned a guest house in Wales, which is quite an old big house as well. And
Awesome.
I swear that there was something there because I used to hear something walking across the hallway. But my dad, over the logic, probably the person who instilled the logic in me for debunking things.
Yes.
He convinced me that there was nothing walking across the hallway. It's basically as the hot water pipes heat up or cool down, they expand and contract and things like that, and that creates the familiar sound of something walking because with the wood and stuff like that, it makes it sound like something's walking across the hallway, but actually it's just the pipe. So that was kind of like it's a bit same as like the other one, but it's like a debunking kind of aspect or viewpoint of it. Family wise, I don't recall anyone.
Hello, whoever's over there. Hello from Spirit, whoever's there. That might be our friend in the UK, Jojo. She's been watching lately. Yes. Now go on. Sorry, Ash.
The only person family wise that has any kind of link to spirits and stuff like that is my cousin Claire, through my dad's side of the family, from my nan. She's probably a well-known Claire Hinks, a well-known medium on this side of things.
I think you've mentioned her before. I've not read anything about her, actually. I don't think, but I think you've mentioned her before when we've been chatting in the past or something. Yes. Now you started out as just a normal ghost hunter, and how did you first step into this? Like, did you have a mentor? Did you reach out to anybody? And what was their response? Because I was surprised, when I started to reach out to people.
I think I first ventured into the paranormal through books. Because again, back from my parents kind of instilled that learn as much as you can kind of concept, and as you can see behind me, quite a lot of books.
Yes.
So I like to read, I read books back to back, so I kind of go from one to the next, and I think that's where it started for me. I started reading more and more and more about the paranormal, and it went from initially reading like ghost stories that most people read about, people's experiences and stuff like that have been put into paper form for people to read, and then more into things like parapsychology and things where I think people like Dean Radin and all that kind of stuff. So you get a bit more of an academic viewpoint on things as well.
Yes, you introduced me to Raiden and Tag and Sheldrake and Brandon, of course.
D. Scott Royo as well. That's another one that you want to probably look into as well. He's quite good. I've been reading a couple of his. Who else did I read recently? Alan Gold as well.
Sorry,
I just read off. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started. Started reading books.
So you were always more drawn to parapsychology.
Yes, I think so.
Did you have a mentor into that, or did you stalk the S.P.R offices or something? Or
that came about basically because I was looking into a case which I'm still looking into. I'm writing a book about it now, which is a little pub in Swanage called the Royal Oak, and some of the things there led more towards spirituality and mediumship. So I was looking into that, and someone at work, actually, funnily enough, suggested looking at a particular film which is about the skull experiment. Now that's spelled SCOLE for some people because it's not to do with the skull. It's to a place in Norfolk in England. Back in the mid-90s, there was an experiment done there with spirits, where four mediums basically contacted a bunch of spirits, and they had mental mediumship and physical mediumship and all those lovely and all that kind of lovely stuff happening to a really high degree. And the investigators of that case were three guys from the S.P.R who wrote a report on it, which I read. So I read their report, and I also read the report written by Grant and Jane Solomon as well. So two perspectives of the same case, if you like. And that got me thinking about things in a completely different perspective, because up until that point, I was very much a debunker, ghost hunter, kind of not really interested in the spirituality kind of side of things, didn't really value it, that I thought. But then that began to push me towards an understanding that there was probably a little bit more going on. And that's something that probably began to open the door towards telepathic stuff and other possibilities. And then that kind of, and that fixed that linked as well to the stuff that I was seeing in this case in the Royal Oak as well. So off the back of that, I began to do more research, I suppose, into that kind of area. And that led to me joining the S.P.R and becoming a member, and obviously getting the journal and reading a bit more about it. And that gives you linkage to become or gain access to more books and more information on the subject and academic research and stuff like that. So it widened my perspective of what the paranormal is. So it's not just ghosts and spirits or things that go bang in the night, like there's telepathy, ESP, and all that kind of stuff as well. So it began to take me down that path as well, which I suppose really helped.
It would. And I know the first time I read the ghost studies, I stayed awake all night and just read with my mouth agape sometimes, and just a big grin, just going, oh my God, yes, this makes so much sense. Because I think I've always been a bit of a fence sitter in that way, because, I do believe in, telepathy and in survival of human personality, of course, because my mum was a medium. So yes, and I know a few mediums as well. I'm friends with Lizette Coley and everything too. So I've always been, it's sort of a dual concept. It's difficult to wrap your mind around at first, I guess.
Definitely.
Now, the theory of telepathic interaction, which really scrambled my brains the first time. Oh, now go on. I've got to use the toilet for 1 second. Sorry, I've had a lot of coffee. Go on. Tell everybody, though. There's nobody alive.
So theory of telepathic interaction is basically, I've got to drag a little visual aid if I can, but I can't apparently. It's a theory that I came up with ages ago. It's an idea, because it's not a scientific theory per se, but it's an idea in a method of using ideograms to map out the communication between mediums and sitters, I suppose, is the best way to put it, or someone who's having an interaction with potentially a spirit or something like that. And by doing that, you can denote what kind of value the information has to understand whether it's information that could either come from the sitters themselves telepathically, or whether it's coming from someone else who's related to the sitters, so information by proxy, or whether it's coming from somewhere else, in which case the mediums can look into if that actually a relative to being something that's to do with a spirit of some kind, perhaps. And the way welcome back. And the way I mapped it out is with little ideograms and stuff like that, basically to link these things together so that you can see what value there is between those pieces of communication. So that's kind of the broad aspect.
That would fall into sort of an infectious telepathy sort of thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so it's mapping out transference of information, I suppose. Yes. It's not necessarily stating that the information is coming from. So if you think of a seance kind of scenario, it's not necessarily saying that the information is coming from the sitter that's with the medium, but it's not necessarily saying the information is coming from a spirit that might be floating around the room. It's trying to gauge how valuable or how that information can be linked to different people or sources is probably a better way to put it, and then understanding is that where that might come from. So
yes, but
a good example,
not necessarily linked to the particular location at which you're receiving.
No, it's not. No, definitely not. It's all about the transference of information between one person and another. So which is telepathy, as Myers coined it.
Now that brings me on to, I guess, the next most logical thing to discuss. Sorry, folks, I need more coffee. That would bring me to the Haraban's frequency and the Schumann resonances, which, as you know, have fascinated me. I've been babbling about them for years. So the Haraban's frequency, Michael Persinger and Sean Haraban's an Irish chap, I think. And when his brain matched the frequency of those he was reading, he gave more accurate readings. And do you think the Schumann resonances would be responsible for that?
I'm not 100% familiar with the Schumann resonances, to be fair. When you've mentioned Persinger there, so is that in relation to things like God helmet and then mind theta frequencies and brain frequencies and things like that?
It would be to a degree. I don't think the God helmet was used with Haraban's, though. I'm not sure. He might have just had electrodes stuck to his head or something. But
it's like an EEG or.
Yeah, Schumann resonances. Right. One of them matches the frequency of our brain. And the lightning carries them around the world up in the ionosphere, I think. I can't remember. Yeah.
So he's measuring mediums' minds for different types of brainwave activity, and then to determine which were more how can I put it? So which were more present when mediumship was occurring, when it was successful, which particular ones were present. So whether it was like alpha, beta, theta waves, that kind of thing.
Yes, and the I think 7.83 is the frequency of our brain or something. I can't remember. Right. It's early.
I'll take your word for that.
It's early and I've still got brains full of snot. Now, good Lord. Experiments now that I guess. No, let's move on to Ouija boards, actually. I don't know. It's early. I'll let you steer. We can go Ouija boards or experiments. I love both. I use Ouija boards in experiments, as you know. My former team weren't that keen on that. I don't think they wanted to acknowledge the ideomotor effect, but that really is important to, that we take that into account. What sort of experiments have you done or have you conducted, and where else have you been? Investigation-wise, I'm sorry.
That was a proliferation of questions. Ouija boards.
I talk.
There's one. If I get my finger right, there's one there. There, see, there you go. That's a Ouija board. Do I use them often? Probably not. They're a tool, I think, that help amplify some people's abilities to pick up on stuff anyway. So the information that comes through is still steered by us, but it's probably information that might be picked up outside of our minds. It's also an unfortunate situation that it's also a system that can be completely fraud in many cases as well, with the wrong people. With great power comes great responsibility. So the wrong people on a Ouija board can steer a whole conversation that doesn't actually exist. So you have to be careful of that. So it's difficult. It's a difficult one. The good fun, I'll say that, because I do like ghost hunting and do the ghost hunting bit still, and Ouija boards are always quite good fun as well. I also find I'm a bit of a tendency to what people watch as well when I'm on investigations, because I find that how people behave or how they understand things or interpret things is quite fascinating. And Ouija boards is a great one because they go from every scale on a Ouija board. I've had people that see Ouija boards just as simple tools that they use to communicate or gain information during investigation, all the way to people that will not touch them with a barge pole because they're evil portals to hell.
Yes,
So
I think it's Hollywood that's responsible for that mostly.
they definitely are, because I think the one that I've got there is exactly. The one I've got there is a Parker game, obviously not the original ones because they were fold boards, but they and I believe it says it somewhere.
They were used as a romantic game for lovers originally.
That's correct. They did.
I heard that on Kenny's show the other week. That blew me away. That's awesome. It's actually
like dinner followed by a Ouija board, as you do. But yeah, if you know, I can't get my hand right today. There we go. It's always backwards, isn't it, on these things? Up and then there. If you know, just by the picture there on that particular Parker board there, it says for ages 8 and above.
Yes.
Which I find that hugely amusing because my daughter, who's 9, was like, "Well, I can go on a Ouija board because I'm above 8." So it's like, okay, fair enough. And I wouldn't stop her because.
I mean, there are all sorts of things like that going on back then in Victorian times.
Oh yeah, it's a parlor game.
The willing game, the willing game. That was one of my favorite ones to read about.
It's a parlor game that it was part of a social grouping calendar kind of situation where people gather together and then they'd use the Ouija board. I mean, before the Ouija board, obviously it would be they'd group together in the parlor and a medium would come over and they would then divulge information and they'd sit around the table and conduct a seance and all that kind of stuff, talking Victorian times, obviously, and that was always great fun. And speaking of experiments, great link here. I've done an experiment where we've done a Victorian experiment funnily enough in that Royal Oak pub, and we all dressed up in Victorian clothing. We spent the first half of it socialising. Sorry.
Iracuse.
Iracuse.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Head full of snot.
Oh yeah. So we spent the first half in the bar area socialising and getting to know each other, and then went into the dining room or parlour area and conducted a séance all in Victorian clothing, all in good fun, and reached out with objects and things like that. And that was a great experience. I think it's often referred to as the Singapore theory experience. It's not.
Demarest was responsible for that, I think.
Yeah, it's not. But it does heighten the experience, I think, because it puts people's mind into a certain mental state. It puts them into an understanding, and you're all focused on certain things.
Like the Philip experiment, it can influence our values and expectations and assumptions. And when they added I think it was a Ouija board and a medium to the experiment at the suggestion of a psychologist or something, and things started to happen. And so that I guess would show that our minds are our biggest influence really in this.
100%. So Ouija boards, experiments like that. Yeah. Other experiments I've done, obviously, with all kinds of different ones, down from simple things like putting an audio device in a room with a walkie-talkie, and then communicating from outside the room into the walkie-talkie and see if you get any responses in the room, even though there's no one in the room. That kind of stuff as well. To lock off all the standard stuff, basically.
Yeah, like your typical white powder on the ground, to test for footsteps and all that sort of thing. Piece of string across the door.
drawing around a cross and then putting it on a table or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, done all those all the years there. But,
now, gadgets.
Okay.
Essentials. You don't have many, really, do you? You just have an audio recorder, basically.
So I now investigate probably differently from how I used to originally. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yes. Parapsychology training.
Perhaps. So any investigator worth their salts doesn't need a ton of really expensive gear that costs them thousands of pounds.
No.
They certainly do not need to buy a bootload, and I do mean a bootload because I've seen people with a bootload. A bootload.
Yes, sadly, I am one of those, but it's in storage. I'm getting rid of most of it.
Custom ghost hunting gadgets that are built specifically for ghost hunters that are in no way, shape, or form capable of detecting ghosts. And I say that because if they did, that person would be very, very, very rich. So my essentials for a ghost hunt, or not for a ghost hunt, actually, for a paranormal investigation, my essentials would be a pen, a notebook, a camera, and an audio device. Now, before people get carried away, the camera and the audio device aren't for taking pictures of ghosts, and they're not for recording the voices of ghosts.
Yes.
The audio devices, because our note-taking skills aren't always as good as we think they are, and our memories are completely fallible. So if we have conversations with people that may have witnessed stuff, if we record it, it's much better to record it, and then that way we get all the information down, and then we can turn that into good information that we can work with much better. Yes. And get where we need to go, and also the cameras to take pictures of where the event occurred, so we can understand how that looks and what it's supposed to be. And in doing that, you can then begin to start building a case file, and also notebooks to take notes and understanding and ask questions and get bits and pieces written down and begin to build your investigation map, draw out maps of the area or the building and all that kind of stuff as well. I don't use really anything else in it at the moment. Don't really use an EMF meter anymore or anything like that, because again, that's not proven.
I've got to try Field Natural. That's the only one I use, basically.
I mean, don't get me wrong, these devices are worth using sometimes when you get going, but I think the right way to do it is to get a calibrated device for temperature and all that kind of stuff, because as soon as you start monitoring the environment, you need to maintain a good monitoring situation. So you need to make sure that all your devices are calibrated. So if you've got multiple temperature devices, they all need to be calibrated so they're doing the same thing.
Yeah,
otherwise
so like a data logger or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm quite a fan of I read somewhere once that some researchers hung a bunch of old school what do you call it, the wooden thermometers with the mercury bulb on the bottom.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They hung them around the room.
Okay.
Which I think is quite interesting. I'm a fan of old school. Yes.
I am too, to be fair. I mean, what I've been taught now is that I'd need to know the purpose. So yes. Experimentation without purpose is difficult, because you've got nowhere to go. That I would say I do things with an understanding of, I need to know why I'm doing it, because then I can understand what results I might get. And if I'm going to hang some old school thermometers, then I need to understand or explain or be able to explain why I'm doing that and for what reasons. And that way you can get a better understanding. I think it's I always look at it now. It's like, when I used to go something, it used to be quite fun and all that kind of stuff. What I do now sounds a bit boring, probably, because it's a bit more.
No, God, not at all.
A bit more sort of like factual based and logical and yeah. But we build cases properly in order to make sure that we get all the facts down and understand what is paranormal, what's not paranormal, and that's essential, I think, as well. Otherwise, you can get carried away and label too many things that aren't paranormal as being paranormal.
Yeah, and I mean, gadgets in the toolkit, folks, as I guess you've heard from a few of my guests, big no-no, experiments only. It's not talking to a ghost. Yes.
That's right.
Now, favorite past researchers.
researchers.
Yes, favorite in the
Oh,
past.
God,
I mean,
I'd have to
Carrington is
say
one of my favorites, of course, and of course, I've read Human Personality and Phantasms and what have you. And yes,
yeah, Myers. I like Myers some of the stuff that he done. And the guys at Podmore and those kind of guys that started off the S.P.R. I like what they done. Sort of a Lodge. He done some good work as well.
yes.
I mean, I've been reading some recently about some of the older people, not older people. That's wrong. I it. Some of the other characters within the S.P.R. and stuff like that as well. James Hislop, I want to say. I'll probably get some of the names wrong here. He was an old secretary of the American Society for Psychical Research, and he looked into people, some mediums as well over time, which is really cool. God, obviously like people like who else is
And
there?
oh, sorry, no, you have ghosts somewhere back there on your shelf. That
I've got
one.
Holzer. I like yeah, there it is.
I can't reach mine.
Ghosts, yeah. So Holzer. That's I like that. He's done some good work as well. Just trying to
Leon Playfair and
Skyline Playfair.
Yes, this house is haunted.
Yes,
that's a very good book, actually. Very thorough documentation. You know the way it's conducted. Yes, I can't reach mine either. It's like 2 meters away.
Yeah, this Young as well. Carl Jung, he done some amazing stuff in psychology and stuff like that around aspects. John Keel as well, who wrote Mothman Prophecies. I like the way his mind works when he's written the Mothman Prophecies. Is very well done as a book that you can pick up and read, and obviously got turned into a film. But equally, some of the stuff that he's written about, so that's quite good as well. I could probably go on all night, to be fair. Then yeah, I mean, obviously the guys that looked into the Borley Rectory and all that kind of stuff. Peter Underwood,
yes, Underwood,
Adams, Eddie Brazil. They'd all done fantastic work. I said, we'll just go on. I think Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yes.
Although he had some
fairies thing, you know, it was sad.
Yeah, went a bit wrong there, but then Sherlock Holmes is, you know, a genius piece of work. So yeah, there's loads that you could mention. I probably could mention. D. Scott Rogo I mentioned earlier as well. I started reading a lot of his stuff as well recently.
Yes,
that's really cool. Cool. What else is there?
Carrington, I think is my favorite because I agree with him. I agree with him on Xenocards because, you know, lifeless, arid, people lose interest. So yes, and Sarah is redesigning those, which is great.
Cool.
Which I think that is really good. I did his drawing experiment with with the paper, the blank sheet that I stuck on the wall, and you know.
Oh yes, yeah, I remember that, right? Yeah.
Yes. No, I was only really starting out then, so I didn't have many, but that was great fun. Yes. Now let's move on to the current ones still active in the field. Researchers. You and Sarah have collaborated on a book.
Yes, we have.
I mean, for me, of course, Parsons, Cooper, Lloyd. God, yeah.
Cooper, Lloyd, Raiden,
Sheldrake.
Raiden, Sheldrake, Targ as well. Cool. Who else was there? Various members of the S.P.R. as well that do amazing things, to be fair. Their names escape me right now this second. Gould as well, of course. Gould.
Yes, I've heard of him. I've heard of him.
Oh dear.
Nan and Carlos. Carlos is dead, unfortunately. But yes, Nan is still active. She's a sweetheart, Nan. Brian Williams as well.
Caroline Watt as well.
I've got that one on my shelf too. And Brian Williams is still going. He's done some good
Yes,
stuff. Is he the guy
Brian
that's
Williams.
running the RNG experiment?
He's got something to do with RNGs. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, yes. That would bring us on to, I guess, projection onto gadgets, because I tend to think that's a very real possibility. I've had some WTF moments before in the past. I call those, yes, WTF.
It's a psychokinesis, though, isn't it? Really, or telekinesis.
Yes, PK, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, so basically, I think that's a very desolate possibility. But then the interesting thing I find about that is it creates two possibilities as well, straight off the bat, within a ghost hunt situation for people that are ghost hunters. If it's possible to affect a device with your mind, then it's possible to change the temperature of a device that measures temperature with your mind.
Yes.
And it's also possible to transmit a message onto a recording device from your mind.
Yes, exactly. So we're not necessarily hearing a ghost speak when we're hearing an EVP.
Which I think is an experiment that Brian does, doesn't he?
Brian Kano?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yes.
Psychic
Yes, he wasn't the first one to do it, though, I think.
No.
He's done long before that, but he's the main one that's known for it now. And the Gansfeld, that's a good one. I can't believe those people from Estes Park misappropriated that and, changed the name. That's silly. It really is.
They changed the whole thing quite slightly. Gansfeld is a good one, but I mean, Gansfeld is great because it's been adapted and changed so many times over the years anyway, and it has proven proven might be the wrong word, but it's shown the possibility of telepathic interaction in my book quite a lot in the concepts of how it works. So it's a really good experiment, and I've done it a few times during investigations of ghost hunts over the years as well. I've even to the extent where I've used the half ping pong balls and the red light and the white ones.
So did I.
And I at first everyone thought it was some kind of weird initiation thing that I was doing with them, but no, it's an actual experiment because you do look a bit weird. But yeah, no. So we've done that over the years, and that's. I mean, I've done it at a haunted location once, and I found it quite interesting because I felt in that moment when I couldn't see anything apart from a red light and all I could hear was white noise. I did feel like there was a presence around me, kind of thing, or something moving around me. But then you have to question the concept of right. Well, if your senses that you usually see with and hear with are hampered slightly, does that mean that you're immediately heightened to a fight or flight situation where you're thinking that anything might be an issue or problem or something nearby? So, but it has churned out some interesting results before. So
Yes,
I think it's worth carrying. Yeah, and the Estes I think you mentioned there's an interesting one as well. The only problem I've got with that is the fact that it's again using audio messages from like scanning radio, to be fair. So you're not really.
Yes.
It's a concept
and also
of
there's the possibility of projection onto those as well, because that was one of my WTF moments. I caught an EVP at J Ward, one of the first places I investigated with my team. It's a former prison and now and it was turned into an external ward of Arradale Asylum over here. And there was a couple of my former medium, Gail's team, sitting down one of the wings in J Ward. And the first time I ever went there, which was years before, I put an EVP recorder, audio recorder, on the ground in one of the rooms there because it was also the first place to house the first AIDS patient in Victoria, in Australia, actually. And I think he died there. And I caught a very, very crystal clear EVP that time that said, "I'm sick." And then years later, I was walking down that same wing in J Ward, and the team, Gail's team, were down there with the spirit box. And I heard come through that very clearly, "I'm sick." So, that for me, that could have been me, of course. Remembering that was the first time I ever caught an EVP.
So that raises a number of questions.
Well, I don't know.
How can
happens.
how can you break that? So you've got the possibility that you caught an EVP when you caught an EVP of
Yes.
a spirit, or for example, there's a possibility you caught an EVP of something that was on your mind and you projected it onto the device itself. So
Yes.
you projected it on there. But now you've added into the extra part of the story is that it was also picked up someone using a spirit box. So the audio actually came across a FM AM radio band at some point and was heard, and obviously it fit the boat. You could also throw into the mix, if you really wanted to, that your EVP may have been a precognitive EVP of something that occurred in the future.
This is true.
Blow your mind.
No, it's wonderful though. I love this stuff. I mean, you were the one that mentored me into this in a way. So yes, you've known I've loved this from the start. Yes. I love experiments. I think my favorite one was the one I conducted at Castlemaine Jail too. I had the guests as guinea pigs and blindfolded them and took them for a walk up and down a wing. And, we got hits in some of the same areas. And of course, they were kept quiet, so they couldn't say anything to the other guests or influence their thinking or anything. It was like, shut up, walk, squeeze my arm if you sense something. So, yeah. Yeah, but that was a fun one too. Good Lord. Now, moving on to books. Now, you and Sarah wrote Supernatural Synchronicity. How did you guys first meet?
We've never met.
No, I mean virtual. We haven't met either.
No, I don't really know, to be fair. We, like most people, I suppose, like when I first started doing it, so I was looking for a copy of the book that I could fly in front of the camera, but I can't see one. I'm sure there's one back there somewhere. We, like most people, I think, when I started getting involved in the paranormal, and Facebook was kind of quite influential back then. I started finding people, like-minded people, and started talking to them on Facebook to make sure that I, wasn't losing my mind, and there was other people who had a similar interest and engage it from those. This is before, obviously, I went on to the S.P.R. And that helps. That opened, as everyone on here probably knows, that opens up a massive window to allow you to talk to different people of varying different skill sets and understanding of the paranormal and beliefs of the paranormal. And that, I think that's probably how we met. It's how I met Brandon, how I met
Yes.
I met and how I met Sarah eventually, to be fair. And the similarity between the both of us is both of us were writing a paranormal blog, I suppose, at the time.
Yes.
So in realistic terms, we should have been sworn enemies. But we didn't. We was like,
I mean, we in academia are kicking ass at Unity, Pardon the French, folks. We really are. I mean, look at the backstabbing and the egos and the power plays and the bitching. It's too much drama.
Yeah, and I'm not one for that anyway. So my position. I think oddly at the time that I think I virtually met Sarah. I think I just shut down. So I used to have a team. My original team was called Farsight Paranormal Research something or other Society, I think.
You told me about that years ago, but it's long back in the banks of my memory, of course.
So what I didn't know at that point in time is that in America there's a Farsight Institute that has their name all trademarks and stuff like that. Got run by a guy called I can't remember his name now. It's gone off my head. But they look into basically remote viewing, which is interesting because that introduced me to remote viewing and understanding that kind of concept of things. But in doing that, I also had a conversation with the guy, and obviously he was like, "Well, our name's kind of trademarks and stuff, so you can't really use it." And at that point in time, my team was kind of like going through a situation where it was kind of dissolving a little bit. And I've never been one for the black paranormal shirts and you must be part of the team and you can't really enter. I was always like, well, do what you want. So I kind of dissolved my team.
Why the dark? Why does it always have to be dark?
Yes, why? But so I dissolved the team and just became, Ashley Knibb basically, and writing and was writing a blog about the paranormal in that respect. Met Sarah, found out that she was writing her own blog as well, in a similar kind of sort of like state as well. And obviously that's living life in full spectrum, I think hers is called. Very good. Just check it out.
It is. She's very good at educating the public. She's very plainly spoken. She's not as formal as I tend to write in my style. I use big words, and she's very good at, making it
Which,
very plain and clear what she means. I tend to babble a bit. I do. It's me.
yeah, I did that to be fair. No, she's very good at communicating stuff. So we ended up talking and stuff like that. And I don't know really how we
I
decided
was
to write
hunting
a
her
book.
all along as a guest, but I didn't tell anyone.
Well,
I had no
she'll
choice. I just
be a good
had to
guest
work my
because
way
she's
through.
very good. But yeah, so we sort of like got talking and stuff like that, and about the paranormal, and kind of got, it was a weird kind of mind sort of set, both on similar sort of strengths. And then we had the idea of writing a blog that was on both of our websites back and forth.
Like
And
a dialogue.
that's how the book started. So
like a dialogue, like Sheldrake did with his. Yes.
Yes, so I'd write a blog post, and then she'd respond to it, and then add to it, and then I'd respond to it, and then add to it, and then that's basically the majority of the chapters came from that, and then we added additional chapters to it on top of that, obviously to make sure that it wasn't all online, so people could then buy the book and get extra out of it, and that all came. Okay, I think we spent like half a year or 8 months or something doing that back and forth kind of thing, and then we brought it together, and that's where the book came from.
Yes, I think that's a great thing to do, really, that reaching out to one another, because that some people are scared to. I mean, I was scared to death of asking Lloyd to be a guest. He's a sweetheart. I was petrified. I was sort of really hesitant, God, Lloyd, I've got this little chat thing that I want to do. Would you be a guest? That sort of thing. And Steve, I mean, yeah, it amazed me how sweet you guys have all been, and yeah, it's wonderful. Good Lord, now good God, now you're oh, blimey, what else was I going to say now? Where have you been? You've spoken at S.P.R conferences as well, haven't you?
I did years ago. I haven't done any of those recently. Obviously, COVID changed a few things. My life's changed a lot as well. So I've not really had probably the time or more recently. I did years ago. I spoke in the UK. We had one that was set up by Matt Hall. I spoke at that. I spoke at a couple of MJ Dixon's ones, I think, as well. And at the S.P.R, I spoke. I done a really short one at one of theirs as well. So that was scary. The S.P.R was probably the most scary one of them all because it's in front of a lot of academics. And although it was a really short 15-minute blurb, it was quite terrifying. Weirdly, as well, off the back of that, I'm now this year I'm helping out the secretary of the S.P.R to run the conference. So that should be interesting. So if you haven't looked it up and you are a member or want to be a member, then that's probably a good way to go and get involved with that, because that's going to be interesting as well. Because that's a lot of sort of it's like a real conference experience with academic papers and information and stuff like that, and it's blow your mind sometimes some of the stuff that they come back with.
And PowerPoint stuff that would hurt my brain.
Statistics, information.
Those really hurt my brain.
It can really hurt your brain, but at the same time, it begins to solidify the wider aspects and reaching parts of the field, as we call it, which pushes it beyond ghosts and spirits and Ouija boards into the realms of telepathy and psychokinesis and all kinds of different researches that have come off of back of parapsychology and all that kind of aspect of it as well, which makes it a lot more in depth and fascinating to me anyway. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I find it fascinating.
The numbers seem to sort of add up, when you, not that I look at them much, they do make my head hurt a bit, but if they express in a simple percentage sort of thing, then it starts to really show something really cool is happening, I think.
That's it. So it might not be that we're in, we might not be in contact with, great uncle or whatever. But it might be that there's something else going on that's far more fascinating, that shows that there's far more to us humans and our abilities in a supernatural sense than we recognise. And I think Raiden talks about that in some of his books as well, which is quite nice as well.
Yeah.
That shows our potential and our capacity to do more than what we realise that we can do. And to be fair, Myers spoke about it as well when he spoke about genius and stuff like that. He understood that the fact that there's some people that can do more. There's people that can paint amazing pictures, or there's people that can do high level maths beyond the capability of Einstein, for example, and come together with all these theories, and sports people as well that are capable of doing these sports to a degree, to a level that is just beyond what any normal person can do, which almost makes them look like super beings. So it's the beyond normal, or the super normal capabilities of us is far beyond that, and that's also all paranormal stuff as well, and people miss that as well. And obviously then you've got other concepts as well, which is things like the animal kingdom and all, what they can do and all that kind of stuff, and different aspects of that, and then obviously filtering to creatures and stuff like that we don't understand, which may be more in line with cryptozoology and all that kind of stuff. So
yes, I love Sheldrake's book on animals. I love Sheldrake's book on animals. That's fantastic. And the sense of being stared at, of course. And good Lord, now where was I going with that? It's gone blank. Yeah, I'm really sorry. I'm half asleep still. It's only 6:08 a.m. over here, and it's still dark, but that's fine. I'm a night owl anyways. Yes, now what, I don't know now. Progressing on, I guess. Now, your book is coming soon. Have you got any plans for any more public speaking events other than the one you told me about just before, or lectures? Or there's an S.P.R. conference coming up soon, I think. Are you a speaker at that?
No. So I'm helping with the S.P.R. conference.
That's right. Sorry.
Because I think it's the first. I mean, before COVID, S.P.R. conferences were all face to face. So you go to a hotel, there's a conference, you go to lots of talks and all that kind of stuff, and you talk to people, like-minded people and academics, and that kind of stuff, and it's a fascinating time. COVID brought a close to that for a little while. So like many things, it all went online. So the last few conferences, I think, have all been Zoom conferences online, which I find really difficult because most of my week is on video calls with work. So the last thing I want to do is spend all weekend on a video call.
It works well for me over here, of course. I get to watch.
That's the point. That's the point I was getting to. But it works well for a lot of people that can't be there in person and are quite remote and stuff like that as well. So I think this year, and I may be wrong, but I think this year is going to be the first in-person and Zoom conference. So basically, whilst we'll have people there in person doing the talks and that kind of stuff, we'll also be sending it out across the airways, across the internet as well, so people can log in via Zoom, I think, and experience the conference still that way as well. So it's going to be a hybrid, I think is the term we should be using. So it's going to be a hybrid conference.
I think that's what I was going to say. I think that's how you met our Beth, didn't you? Our Beth Darling.
Yes, so obviously Beth lives over here in the UK now. But I met
You've been responsible for bringing a few of us into this, actually.
I met Beth, first time face to face. I think I met her at a S.P.R. conference after she came over to the UK. I've met her a few times, obviously on ghost hunts and stuff as well. So she's another. She doesn't live too far away. She lives in London, I think, or just out. No, she moved actually. She's just outside London now. So she's over here as well, and we've She's also a member. She's also a member of the SCC with me as well, part of the S.P.R.
Bucket list. That brings me on to bucket list.
Okay.
Places you would like to see.
That's a difficult one.
I know you've been to the pyramids, haven't you?
No, I haven't been to the pyramids. So I'd like to go to the pyramids. I've been to temples and tombs up and down the Nile because I've done a Nile cruise when I was younger with my dad, actually. That was fascinating. So I've been to the Valley of the Kings, Queens, some of the Asu Simbu and all those kind of temples all down the Nile. But I never made it. We never made it to the pyramids. So the pyramids is one that I'd like to go back to and see in Cairo as well. Obviously,
Yes.
so that's one place I would like to go. To be fair, places to visit is wide reaching across the world. To be fair, because every day it seems that me and my fiance Jen, we seem to find new places that we want to go and visit. I did visit Eastern State Penitentiary whilst I was in Philly during the day with the kids, so it wasn't really a ghost hunt.
Of course.
But it was good. It was good to see the place. Haunted places. I'm always a bit on a funny one with that because it's like I don't know whether places are always as haunted as what people think they are, or still are. But there are a few places I suppose I'd like to visit. But then I've been to places like I've been to Bram Castle in Romania as well, which is often associated with Dracula, although it's not Dracula's castle.
Yes.
So where else is there? So there's so many places.
And why haven't you been to Australia yet? God damn it!
I have been to Australia. I went when I was just 20 years old. So a good few years ago. I went with a friend. My sister's was it I think at the time, and we went there. And I flew into Sydney, and we drove up the. I'm gonna probably get this wrong, so sorry, people in Australia. I think it's the Paradise Highway up towards.
I'm bad with roads.
Gold Coast.
I'm bad with roads.
So we kind of drove up that road and then came back down again, and I flew back home again. So I went up down there, done a little bit of traveling around there, saw a few things and stuff like that as well.
Is there anywhere over here that you would like to see? You know, like bucket list wise. Monte Cristo is wonderful. I've been there. Spent the night there. That was a great place, actually.
That'd be good. I wouldn't mind visiting Black Rock House because I see Sarah talks about that quite a lot.
Yes, I want to go see Sarah sometime too when it's warmer. Of course. And Arradale, you would love Arradale. I think it's massive.
Yep, that'd be good.
Absolutely huge. 63 outbuildings.
Wow, that's huge.
Yep. And good Lord. Yes. Here at the hotel. Because of course I've been living here nearly 2 years now, and stuff happens here on occasion. They're friendly though.
Oh, that's good. It's always good when they're friendly.
They're very polite, actually. We caught one on audio one time. Saying, "I hope you have a room for her," when I was talking to my former partner out in the hall. So they're very polite.
That's good.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Now we've been talking for an hour and 12. Good Lord. Reading list and podcasts and favorite non-fiction movies. Like Third Eye Spies is one of my docos. Sorry, Third Eye Spies, of course. You haven't seen Haunted yet, have you? Our Aussie one. Haunted. Our Aussie one. I
don't think so.
That Ian talked about the other week.
I don't think I've seen that. No.
Well, watch it for God's sakes.
I'll definitely have to look into that. Yeah, I have to look into that. TV shows I don't watch a lot of because of time, and also as my fiance will attest, I become quite critical when I watch some of the ghost hunting TV shows.
Yeah, I tend to face palm a lot and eye roll.
Because I don't mean. I mean, a lot of it's entertainment. I get that, and that's fine. It's just some of the time. Sometimes I think it's like it creates a very dramatic image of what it is to investigate something in the paranormal. And that's not true, because often when we investigate something in the paranormal, we're sitting in a darkened space for a very long time and nothing happens.
Why in the dark? Unless you have to, of course.
You don't have to. In fact, to be fair, the last few investigations,
you can't, when
the last,
are...
The last few investigations I've done, I've actually investigated with lights on, and on a couple of occasions we've done investigation during the day as well. So we are actually beginning to move away from that now in some of the investigations that we do, to make sure that we focus on when things might happen or if they happen, and doing experiments around that as well. My friend Graham Smith, he's got an experiment that is worth talking. He's looking into, trying to understand the emergence of the activity within the environment and trying to measure that and understand that. And that's quite cool. So we've had that one of the locations that I'm investigating a case at the moment, and that's gathering information around that. So we look at different things, like you've got one of your guests is Greg as well, isn't it?
Yes.
I like his concept of what he calls the alpha case in his book. I think his book is called Detecting Paranormal, but I think it's reversed, different edition, and renamed it a little bit. But he calls it the alpha case.
To be a paranormal detective, it's now. It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Greg Lawson. So I've taken that concept, that mindset, which it makes logical sense. And I look for that alpha case as well, because that's always a fascinating reminiscence to understand the case itself. So it also raises some questions sometimes as well about how the activity was born. That's probably the best way to put it. So that's quite fascinating. So we employ that kind of aspect of it now as well, looking into that, researching and understanding the location when the activity started. Because often you get called in on a case and someone's experienced something, but then you might find out that the people who lived there before experienced something, the people who lived there before that experienced something, or there may be a historical aspect that goes back that may have originally triggered this. So people have grown a belief that they drove into this concept of why paranormal activity is believed to be occurring, is because something has occurred, possibly 100 years ago, that's drawn this belief from that point of view. I can't think of a real example off the top of my head. Maybe the Amityville horror is a good example, where horrible things happen in a house. People believe that it's obviously going to be haunted because all those horrible things happened in the house, so it was haunted. That kind of concept.
But it was the lawyer, I think, the lawyer and the Lutzes that got together and said, "Hey, let's make some money."
Well, yeah, and didn't they? Books and films.
Yep. Lots of them. Really bad ones too. Really bad ones.
Yeah, they're not great, to be fair.
No. And the female Ghostbusters remake, I hate that.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yes, let's not go there. It ruins Ghostbusters, the original.
Yeah, all four ladies in the paranormal. I think that's brilliant. I just think that the reboot they tried to do there failed. Ghostbusters Afterlife, that was good.
Haven't seen that yet.
You need to, because there's another one coming out shortly.
Gotta see it. Another one?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Number 3, fantastic. Fantastic. And, oh, good Lord. Now, that moves us on to what is holding this field back. Why do we seem to be stuck with K2s, Ovilus, REM pods, blah-de-blah? Is it Hollywood?
Kind of. It's the need for, what's the best way to put it? Reactive based investigating, or no, that's not all term. Investigating, reactive based ghost hunting, basically. So people want to go out and have an experience there and there. They think that that's going to happen because TV tells them it's going to happen. Even the good shows will probably admit that they film over multiple nights and then carve that down into snippets from all those nights, so it makes it look like it's more dramatic. So they may have 4 or 5 things that happen, but those 4 or 5 things might have happened across a week. But it makes it look like it all happened in one night. But people go and investigate for one evening and think they're going to get umpteen different things happen. So I think people go out looking for a reactive kind of aspect, which is where things like audio and REM pods and all that kind of stuff come into play, because all these things happen in real time, so that they can do something.
They flash and they beep and they're exciting. And
that's it, and they get a response. But that's not real research. That's not real investigation. That real investigation and real research is about gathering a hell of a lot of data and information, and then analysing that information and data to understand what that tells us. And I use this example probably for years and years now. It's like black holes. You can't see a black hole, so it's like a ghost. But we know it's there because we've gathered lots of data and processed that data and analysed that data, and now understand that certain frequencies and changes and things like that show us that a black hole exists there. More recently, they've taken the first photo, if you like, or picture of a black hole to see what, like, using certain technologies and all that kind of stuff, so you can now see what it looks like as well, based on what that data is looking for. So I find that a really good example, because it's like it's all data driven though, and information driven. They've done the research, they analysed it, and all that kind of stuff to provide an understanding of what this weird anomaly in space is.
Yes.
If we keep holding ourselves back by getting out boxes that beep, or trying to do audio recordings where we're not using a clean environment, where people wearing rain macs are, moving their arms backwards and forwards, and we think that's someone talking.
Yes,
or
the chicken sound,
yeah, that's it. And because people are so desperate in those scenarios to have something, or have an experience, or a response, or a reaction, or something like that, they will. Pareidolia plays a big part, and then obviously people will interpret things as being not what they are. And I've sat back in many ghost hunting sort of situations, events kind of thing, and watched these sort of things unfold. And often with the social dynamic as well, people will think they've heard something, and then people who want to be part of that will then attribute that they've heard similar things as well, and it grows into an experience that didn't really exist.
A sort of an infection sort of thing, I heard this, and I thought I heard that too. That sort of thing.
The thing I think that's holding the field, and I don't like using that term.
No, I don't really. But what other term do we use? The community, I guess, because we're not really a community in the general sense of the word, because they're, the infighting and stuff, the egos.
All communities have that, so you don't always have. Communities aren't always, utopia communities, are they? So so maybe community is the right word, but I think the thing that's holding us back is our lack of questioning things properly.
Yes.
So we're just accepting things. So you get a shuffling noise on a recorder, and you go, oh, that's definitely someone responding to the question that I just asked. And it's like, well, that's we used to debunk things, or we used to look into things a little bit more detailed than that, and we don't seem to be doing that anymore. And I think yes, TV's played a part in that. I don't think that's just TV to be blamed on that one. I think it's the field, the community.
A lack of curiosity sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just that concept of wanting to be. Maybe I'll get too old. Maybe it's just cynical, sitting in an armchair and I think some people just want to accept things as an experience and walk away and go, yeah, I went to such and such place, and
I went there,
experienced a ghost. And it's like, but it's not, and it's not necessarily that they're lying or there's untruths happening. It's more along the lines of unwilling to, dig deeper under the layers and understand what exactly is going on. And the unfortunate thing about that is it makes things quite embarrassing, because it's like when you put that as an investigation against something else, it loses its credence, because it's like when we look at things from the S.P.R, you need to have lots of facts and stuff like that to back things up and have a good case. And then you look at some of the cases where people go, oh yeah, we went to some place and it was really haunted, and it's like, and you immediately they outline what their experiences with, and you look at it and you go, yeah, but that's because that's pareidolia, that's this, that's that. you just think it's you've misunderstood the entire situation that you've gone into, and it's more like that they've gone and done urban exploring rather than ghost hunting or paranormal investigation. So I think, and the bit that fuels that, I think, is things like social media and YouTube, because people are quicker to get those experiences on film and then onto social media as snippets for likes and things like that, rather than actually sitting down and analysing and preparing a report of some kind to show that they've understood what's gone on, and their understanding of what happened is this, and how they can back it up and all that kind of stuff. I almost fell off my chair probably about a month ago when I approached a team that had been to a location that I'm investigating at the moment, and asked how they got on, and they provided me with a report, a written report, because I was impressed and almost fell off my chair, because usually when I ask people for that, they go, "Oh, go onto our YouTube channel, and then you can see the investigation on there," which of course isn't. Yeah, there's no documentation, and that's usually just a cut down version of what happened. So basically, it's like the TV. It's like all the good bits are on there, but it doesn't help you understand the bigger picture because it's missing the facts properly. So
now the one YouTube channel I like is Lloyd's one, actually, that asks Professor Paranormal. Sorry, I really need coffee. Because he does a great job, at education in general. And that brings us on to what's in your mental toolkit. What else?
What's in my mental toolkit?
Your mental toolbox. What's in your mental toolbox? As in, gratitude, honesty, critical thinking, blah-de-blah, that sort of thing.
I think my approach is generally is critical thinking. I don't immediately think things are paranormal just because they seem like it. I'm a gatherer of information, and then try to understand that information. I like to research, so to dig deep into things to understand historically as well. So I like the history. The case that I mentioned earlier, the one I'm looking at is it's Bradwell Abbey, which is an old abbey which has been there since the 1100s. So understanding the history that goes back there and respecting the history that is there as well is important to me. And I work with on that particular case. We're working with the director of the location as well, she looks after it, and the archaeology as well. I mean, even to the facts where I buy books on. I don't know if you can see that on archaeology, burial and deaths.
Well, that's great though.
So I can understand a bit more about why things might be in a certain way, or why things might. So I can understand things from my point of view. So it's not just understanding the paranormal side of it. I try to understand a bit more. So I like to widen the concept on that, which is probably why I read so much. But it's understanding the paranormal. But that leads to, and I'm going to stand up for it. That leads to this, if I can find it. So okay, yeah, that's like two. Okay, so these. That leads to this. I don't know if you can see how thick that is. But that's one case. This is Bradwell Abbey, which is that thick.
Yeah, I've got a few folders, but most of mine are in storage.
So you gather this information and you put it together. And every time we visited the Bradwell Abbey and I've done an investigation there, I've written a report of what happened as soon as possible. So you get a 2 or 3 page report each time about what happened and what we done, all that kind of stuff, pictures and stuff like that. I mean, and the reason I'm mentioning Bradwell Abbey is in December, I've got an article in Haunted magazine that's coming out about it as well. To the investigation so far.
So yes. Now Sarah writes for that too, doesn't she?
Yes, we both do. This one here. There you go. See.
Yeah.
I might be in that one.
Well, we're getting to the plugs anyway. Yes. Now, good Lord. Well, I guess aside from plugs now, that I think that's pretty much covered. Now, your new book is coming out when?
My new book is got to be finished first. So probably next. I'm going to say next year, because every time I try to schedule myself to write on it, I seem to get further and further behind on it. So, but it's coming. It's getting there. I think I've got it laid out chapter wise and all that kind of stuff. But basically, that book is about my 12-year investigation of the Royal Oak.
That is an investigation. It's not a stakeout.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of experiences that we've had there. A lot of things we've looked into. A lot of things that have been said that have occurred there as well that we've looked into as well. Our investigations. So we've got chapters that cover basically an investigation and go through all of that kind of stuff. And then the end of it will be me summing up and understanding and then putting into using my usual kind of spin, like I do about what it could be. So it could be anything from Joe's. Have to read the book to understand totally, but
your different avenues sort of thing.
So what's the possibilities that we're looking at here that could have generated this kind of phenomena occurring at this location? And it's a very interesting one because it's not just a location that's been haunted. It's also involves aspects of mediumship and trance mediumship. It also involves aspects of past lives, or potential past lives, should I say? I can't prove that as well. So there's some interesting things that link into it as well that make it quite a fascinating case. And like I said, it's also the one that led me to look into the skull experiment, and also into joining the S.P.R and learning more about that, and led me down the path where now I'm also a member of the S.P.R and its spontaneous cases committee as well. So that kind of springboarded me through that whole lot. And oddly, the talk that I gave at the S.P.R was about that case as well. So there's continuous links all the way through. So I really need to finish the book on it. Otherwise, I'm not doing it justice.
That's okay. I'm working out how to turn my ones into a book too, but I'm having difficulties with Kindle. Yeah. It makes my brain hurt. This stuff always has, but yeah.
But
I've got the cover. I've got the cover and everything. I just can't work out how to add content. And now, I will ask you here and now. I'm hoping you and Sarah will do a team up towards the end of all of this, and talk about your shared book.
Yeah.
And are you planning another one together?
We're not at the moment, because we've been doing our own little projects, I suppose. I mean, Sarah's done a lot better than I have. I think she's released 2 or 3 books now.
Yeah, she's got 2 now, I think. I can't remember. Sorry, Sarah.
I'm pretty sure it's volume 1 and volume 2, maybe a third one or two. I'm pretty
Stuff
sure
investigators need to know, or something. Yes. So.
That's our book. I found it.
Yes. Hey, he found it.
Fair buy. So actually, it's my fiance's book. I'll copy it. We're not playing one at the moment, no, because we've been busy with other projects and stuff like that. It's not something that I wouldn't not do. That's really bad English, isn't it? It's something that I've
certainly here.
I can turn down. That's because I enjoyed. If anything, I enjoyed that piece of it, because it didn't feel very much like the book I'm writing now. It feels like I'm pressurizing myself to get it done. When I wrote that one with Sarah, it's pretty much like we just wrote. It's like writing a blog post, and then she'd write one, and then it's like it just evolved into a book and became a book. So it didn't seem like it was very difficult. And to give her the credit, it was Sarah that managed to put it together in. I think it's in Amazon's version of book creation thing online, and created the book in there for us. So she done the work there.
I'm having difficulty adding content. I can't work out how to do it.
I haven't looked into that yet, so I think I need to look into it. I mean, one of my goals I want to do with this book that I'm writing is I want to get
I'll ask
to
Sarah.
publisher.
I think I've got to convert my whole blog into a form that Kindle accepts, and I can't work out.
Yes, I think you do. Yeah, that's how it works.
You're the IT expert, goddammit. And have you read my 17-minute thing yet?
No, I haven't. You have to send me a link, and I'll have to look into that.
Carried away. I think I love a good deep dive, and I couldn't stop. It should have been 2. Yes, but read. Bloody hell, read. Now, we will finish up, folks. I'll let Ash get to relax with Jen, because what's the time over there now? The sun's coming up over here. It's 6:30.
It's 9:35 over here. And I think I'm just about getting back used to the time, because I was 5 hours behind, I think, previously when I was in the States. So that's a bit. Yes, I think jet lag or whatever it is hit me this afternoon a little bit. I had a bit of a tired spell then, so I had a couple of coffees then. But 9:35 over here at the moment. So
we'll let poor Ash go and relax with Jen. Folks, thank you very much, Ash, and firstly for introducing me to all of this stuff. I only stepped out when my mom died, because I just couldn't anymore after that, and I'm well and truly back in it now. And so thank you on behalf of myself and Sarah and Beth, I guess. And thank you for the chat today, and for agreeing to do a panel with Sarah too, because that would be great to hear both of you share your experiences writing the book, Yes. So thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Ash. And I hope to see you again shortly. I'll work that out with Sarah when she's on.
Cool. Brilliant.
Thank you. Now I will remove you from stream now, and you can go and chat with Jen, and I will finish up.
Cool.
And I
Brilliant.
will make the announcement for my guests on Thursday.
Cheers, Kat. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, have a good one.
Bye.
Adios. Now, that was Ash, folks. He's wonderful, isn't he? I've known Ash for years and years now. Yes, I can't remember how long, but ages. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I know it was early over there, but I'm devoted to this cause. It's just me. Yes. Thank you. Anyways, my next guests on Thursday are the boys from Three Tortured Souls. Kenny Biddle, Dave Schumacher, and Tim Vickers. They're a bunch of scientific skeptics, really, really funny guys. Kenny likes a drop of Kraken, I believe. I don't think it's late evening or late afternoon over there or anything like. I'm not sure of the time. I'll check it and I'll put the announcement up tomorrow for my guests. And thanks very much again to Ash. Thank you, everyone. Good morning.